All right, welcome to a brief overview of Genesis chapter 20. We'll see that Abraham moves from the trees of Mamre and traveled southwest into the lands of the Philistines, the Negev. When he does this, his wife Sarah is once again taken into the house of the ruler, this time Abimelech. The story is shortened compared to the similar story that took place in Egypt in Genesis chapter 12, but we can assume that the details are largely the same as the dream that Abimelech will confirm. He was attracted to Sarah and he planned to make her either his wife or concubine. And Abraham uh, lies or does not reveal the fact that in addition to her being his sister, she is also his wife. And as a result, God is going to curse Abimelech. But one thing that's different here is that in this account, God himself warns Abimelech by a dream and basically says that he's as good as dead, that he has taken Abraham's wife. And the sense of this dream is that God was going to bring judgment on him and his people. And so Abimelech protests his innocence to God, who hears him and reassures him that if he returns the man's wife to him, he and his people will be spared. Um, and so when Abimelech wakes up, he immediately goes to his officials and reveals the dream. They, of course, are horrified and no doubt encourage Abimelech to immediately return Sarah to Abraham. So then he calls in Abraham and confronts him about lying about who Sarah was in relation to him. Abraham, in turn, defends himself by saying that he thought to himself, well, you guys have no fear of God, so I'm scared for my life. We see here that Abraham had misjudged the people because they actually were very concerned about offending God, even though they did not know him as Abraham did. He then further excuses his actions by saying that she actually was, in fact, his half sister, and he encouraged her to refer to uh, him, as his brother, as her brother. All right, so um, whether or not Abimelech was convinced by these reasons or not, he proceeds to bless Abraham. He gives him gifts of sheep, cattle, and slaves. He also grants him free range in the kingdom. He can settle and move about freely in it. So we see that Abraham, for all of his lies, is punished very severely by being blessed. Then, surprisingly, he turns to Sarah and said with some kind of irony that he has given her brother 1,000 shekels of silver. Note that while it is given to Abraham, he is saying that the vindication is hers. So she is being treated as a person, the one who was offended in this situation. The account ends with Abraham praying for Abimelech and God removing the curse of barrenness from his family. Note that once again the promise was threatened, and once again it is God, not Abraham, who intercedes to protect the line of the child of the promise. Not only that, despite Abraham's deception, God still blesses Abraham, and by his praying for Abimelech, blesses one of the other nations of the world. Again, a fulfillment of prophecy, and also fulfills the prophecy that he would bless those who bless him and his offspring. So we see here, despite all of Abraham's actions, that God is still blessing him. And so the moral of the story is hard to see here, but it shows that God is fulfilling his promise despite human frailties. All right, that's just a quick overview of Genesis chapter 20. Hopefully see some of you on Thursday.